Yes. I just first of all I just started live streaming just because
Oh,
it's easier to start it now.
yeah.
And yeah, I WebEx keeps a record of who logs in, what time they log in and
Okay.
whatnot.
Okay. I will get that from you later. I hope to get that from you later. All right. Good evening. As I started saying before, my name is Kenneth Gelnick. I'm the chair of the Land Use Committee. We don't have a quorum yet, so I'm going to wait a few more minutes.
Yeah, one more
Um,
board member joined. We're just waiting on one two more, I think. Two more. I'll let you know, Ken, as soon as I see you
okay.
have it.
Thanks. Thank you.
And you do have two registered speakers at least. Um, I meant to send that to you earlier. I just forgot.
Who are they?
I'll tell you now. Just a second. So the first person to register is Stephanie Sue. I don't know if she's in. She's an attorney.
I thought
Yes,
I
I'm
saw
here.
Stephanie.
Okay, so she's the first one who registered. After that, it's Brian Hunt. And then after that, Renata Rafi. And
I'm
then
sorry, Stephanie. Renato was the third, and who's after Stephanie?
Brian Hunt. I don't know if he's
Sorry, I
in
missed it.
yet. Yeah, do you want me to type this up or do you have a pen?
I'm fine. I got a pen and I'm writing down as I'm
Okay.
following.
Jeremy, I'm here. Good night, Avril.
Hey, April.
Thank you.
So Stephanie Sue, Brian Hunt, Renata Raffi, and then Grace Lavaglio.
Hey, Jeremy, just got a
Yeah.
quick thing just as a point of information. I am a board member over at NIDC. Just so I want to go on record on that, and so I have to recuse myself from any voting or anything that has direct influence on this particular site. So I know NIDC is working with Slate on this project, so for that reason, recusing myself on record.
Yeah. Okay. I would just state that if you guys vote at the land use committee. I mean, they're more or less merged tonight, but I would can just be very clear when the public hearing is over, what time it ends.
Okay.
You do have more than eight members, so if you want to formally
At that point,
start,
I think I'd like to get started.
yeah.
Good evening. As I said before, my name is Kenneth Gelnick and the chair of the Land Use Committee. We will start. I would like to start by asking, is the applicant here? Because,
We are here.
okay, we, we have had, we have had two land use committee meetings on this. I'm sorry that that I don't believe that we've been able to get a hold of the minutes. I know the prior recordings have been available, but for various reasons, we have not been able to do the minutes for them. We will try to get them if possible. But in any event, I would like to have you give who is speaking for the applicant first?
This is John Valadares.
Mr. Valdez,
Yep.
you are from Slate? Or
Yes,
is
sir.
the attorney? Okay.
Yes.
I know, is the owner of the property here also today?
We represent the ownership of the property.
I understand that. Is the last, because the other meetings, all right, in any event, why don't you
We
give
had,
us a
if you're
very,
asking if the supermarket operator is here, the supermarket operator is also here, but the supermarket operator is not the owner of the property. He's a tenant of the property.
okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm aware of that.
And I'm here.
Okay. What I'd like you to do now is, what I'd like you to do is to give a 5 minute basically overview of, just to get everybody up to speed of those who are not at the prior meetings.
Sure. Is it okay if I share my screen and go through
And
a presentation?
I think that'll be very helpful for everybody.
Okay. So I'm going to, give me 1 second. I'm just setting that up. So Ken, can you see my screen? I'm using you. As
I can
the,
see, I can see your screen now, and I believe everybody else can also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So I'll run quickly through this. I represent Slate Property Group. We're a mid-size developer, New York City based. We focus mostly on ground up development in the outer boroughs and do a lot of renovation, kind of value add, repositioning, or renovations in Manhattan with a very concentrated focus on developing affordable housing, which is what I focus on solely on behalf of the company. The site we're here to talk about today is 2560 Boston Road. It's on Boston Road between Matthews and Barnes Avenue in the Allerton section. Most of you know it as the Fine and Fair supermarket site. These are some existing condition photos, which again, most of you probably know the site and what it consists of, but for the record, there's 3 parcels associated with the site. The existing Fine Fair supermarket, which is an approximately 14,000 square foot existing supermarket, a small single family home, and then a small retail commercial taxpayer on the corner of the triangle. That's a little bit more than 1,000 square feet, a very small space. As you can see from the existing conditions, big parking lot, a lot of asphalt, not very pedestrian friendly oriented on some of the back streets, wall condition, and really a sea of parking. This is access to public transportation. One of the things we really love about the site is its close proximity to public transportation. We're about a quarter mile away from the 2-5 trains on Allerton, and very within walking distance to numerous bus lines, the BX 8, 12, 26, 39, 60, 61, and 62. And here's what we're proposing. We are proposing a 100% affordable development, which includes approximately 333 units of affordable housing. We are proposing an application to use the HDC HPD mix and match program, which really gives developers the most amount of flexibility in terms of the affordability levels that can be generated from the site. The way affordable housing works in New York City, HPD has a handful of term sheets. Those term sheets outline the affordability levels and the programming for the site, and really mix and match gives developers and communities the biggest range of incomes, and that's the program that we intend to apply for at this site. That program, along with most of the affordable term sheets at HPD, provide a 50% preference for local community board residents, which means when the affordable housing becomes live, it goes through a housing lottery called Housing Connect. There's a preference for those community board residents. We intend to work with a local nonprofit, NIDC, to assist us with the marketing of the site. We think it's important to work with a local nonprofit because one of the things we can help do here is really, for lack of a better term, stack the cards so that local community members have the greatest opportunity to get the housing in their community. So by using local nonprofits like NIDC, we can do a lot of community outreach to make sure that applicants know about the lottery, know how to apply, and if they need assistance in applying, whether it's technical assistance in actually physically logging into Housing Connect and figuring it out, or getting their paperwork together, getting their income statements, their paychecks together, all for the application process, nonprofits like NIDC are able to provide assistance in that matter. In addition to the housing, this was very important to us, was the return of the existing Fine Fair supermarket. It'll come back. The site will actually be a little bit bigger than the existing site. And we have the supermarket operator here at the meeting tonight to answer any questions anybody might have for the operator. The big part of our plan is the operator has secured a site a few blocks away, which I'll get into in a moment. During construction, he will temporarily relocate to that site, open his operations. We'll build the building, build out a new store for him, and then he'll return and come back to the supermarket site. Come back to this site. In addition to the supermarket, we have an additional 4,000 square feet of retail. We don't have a tenant. We'd love to have feedback from the community. We've had some conversations with the local merchants association. Really, the idea behind the retail was to set it aside as, local community retail, whether it's local businesses that want to expand, or other coffee shop, restaurant, things like that in the neighborhood that the neighborhood sees a demand for. In addition to the retail, there's approximately 6,000 to 7,000 square feet of community facility space. Again, this is space that we don't have a tenant in mind for yet, but it can be used for medical professional space. It could be leased to a nonprofit. It could be daycare space. And again, we'd love feedback, referrals on how to use that space. In addition to the commercial and residential programming, we're proposing 117 parking spaces on site. Sorry, I'm trying to move. Yep. I mentioned the Fine Fair relocation. So as I mentioned, the operators located another site just a few blocks away on Boston Road, where they intend to relocate temporarily while we're constructing our building. It's less than a quarter of a mile away from the site. It's a 5-minute walk to the site on Boston Road. A big part of what Slate does on any of its developments is sustainability and green design. We build to Enterprise Green Community Standards, which is a national standard for affordable housing. We will include rooftop solar to reduce building emissions. Stormwater resiliency is a big part of the program. So a portion of the building will be green roof. There'll be on-site stormwater detention. So if it rains on site, we capture all of the water that falls on our building, hold it on, don't dump it into the sewer system until the sewer system can handle it. In addition, we build high energy efficiency LED lights, Energy Star appliances, and enhanced building envelopes so that the building uses less energy. This is the first floor programmatic layout. Just wanted to give everyone a sense of the layout and the programming for the space. As you can see, the 15,000 square foot supermarket, which is slightly larger than the existing supermarket on site, about 4,000 square feet of commercial space, the building lobby, and 50 on-grade parking spaces. This is below grade, so the cellar level, one level down. We really have earmarked the entire cellar that isn't used for building services. When I say building service, I mean mechanical programming and effectively bicycle storage. We're allocated the remainder of the basement to parking, which can allocate about approximately 67 parking spaces. This is all parking spaces. I'm going to hand it over briefly to Jacqueline Scarinci from Ackerman, who will walk through the exact proposed land use actions that we're asking for here.
Good evening. This land use application is requesting 2 actions. The first is a zoning change from the existing R6 and C81 districts. There's a C81 mapped along Boston Road to a depth of 100 feet, and then the remaining portion of the site is zoned R6. So the portion zoned C81 does not permit residential use today. So we're requesting a rezoning of the project area to an R72 C24, which allows the mixed use development with the affordable housing component, the return of the supermarket and community facility space, as well as parking that John just described. And the other action is a zoning text amendment to designate the project area mandatory inclusionary housing area, which requires that a portion of the residential floor area will be permanently affordable. As John will discuss briefly on the next slide, the entire site, the entire project will be 100% affordable, but the text amendment ensures that in perpetuity, there will be a set aside for affordable housing. And that is either going to be 25% of the residential floor area at a weighted average of 60% AMI, or 30% of the residential floor area at a weighted average of 80% AMI. And I'll let John go through the specifics of the HPD program that they're proposing for this site.
Thanks, Jackie. Before I touch on the mix and match, I just want to mention something I forgot earlier. Will Foster's on, I believe, from NIDC, and is also available to answer any questions anyone may have about our partnership or about NIDC and the commitment to trying to reach as many residents as we can for the housing lottery. On the mix and match, I also want to apologize to the board. Our presentation when we came to the board in October had a typo in it. It had reflected an earlier version of the HPD program on the AMI levels. It was my mistake that we didn't update those, but to be clear, the HPD term sheet, mix and match term sheet is 40 to 60% of the units add up to 80% of AMI. We incorrectly had it at 60% of AMI, and the higher income band is 40 to 60% at up to 120% of AMI. Our earlier presentation had it at 130% of AMI. So we just wanted to be clear here. This is the updated and correct AMI levels, and we will follow the HPD term sheet as required here. Sorry. Really, that's the end of our presentation. This is really just a schedule for everyone. Following the community board, we go to the Bronx Community Board. For those of you who aren't up to snuff on the ULURP process, then after the BP, it goes to the City Planning Commission, and then it goes to the City Council. So we're happy to answer any questions that anybody might have for us, or as I mentioned earlier, Rudy Fuertes, the operator of the existing fine fair, is here as well as Will Foster from NIDC. Thank you, everyone.
John, thank you very much. All right. At this point, I don't know if anybody first I'd like to know if anybody from our committee has any. Oral, do you have any? First, I'm going to call on the members of the Land Use Committee. It's Oral Selkridge and John Johnson. Oral, do you have any questions for Mr. Valderez or I forgot her name, Jacqueline
Guarinci.
No, I have a question about the energy use and meeting the I guess I don't know if it's you're not using LEED, you're using something else to meet some of your energy requirements. What is it again you're using?
So for HPD has a requirement that we follow Enterprise Green Communities, which is a similar program to LEED, but it's geared towards the affordable housing.
Okay, and what's the difference in it between LEED as far as meeting some of the locations to public transportation? You have some mechanical requirements for your systems, and for your solar panel, some of your solar panel requirements, your green roof requirements, and also the R values of the roofs. Is it all similar, or are you familiar with some of the requirements of LEED and also the Energy Council requirements?
Well, I'm not a subject matter expert on the different lead standards. Enterprise Green Committees works in a very similar manner. It has a point scoring system.
Okay.
You get, scores, points for, the construction manner, location to public transportation, building materials, R values. There, you build out an entire energy model, and you
Right.
submit your energy model to Enterprise Greens. It's a nationally recognized green building standard. Without what I'd say is without a lot of the bells and whistles and fancy plaques that you get with LEED standards. It's more kind of geared towards affordable housing and really hitting the best bang for your buck for generating energy efficient, green, sustainable buildings. It has things that also take into account the carbon footprint and where you're sourcing your materials
Right.
and where you're putting your construction waste as well. I'm happy to send you a link to their website, and I could hook you up with one of our consultants to give you the details, but I can't tell you Enterprise is this and LEED is that. Like there's, especially with LEEDs, there's so many different variations, bronze, gold, silver, platinum, that
Right,
it's very
right.
difficult
Okay.
to kind of level the two against each other.
Right. No, that's fine. I think you were able to answer a lot of the questions. I just wanted to know also, I know that the rezoning is going to give you a much taller building on the site, and the other surrounding buildings that you can see even from this image you have on the screen right now. It's pretty tall. Were you able to do a a shadow study as far as what the impact this building will have on the light for the surrounding buildings?
The
Just a shadow study of this building.
Sure. So as part of the ULURP and in part of the public review process,
Right.
the project will be subject to an EAS. That EAS does include a shadow study. It's my understanding, and I'm not an expert exactly on the shadow studies. It really does focus on sensitive areas too, whether it's like
Yeah.
open space that you're casting light on or things like that. But that is part of the environmental review. I just wanted to touch on one thing that you said about the height. So right now our site is split zoned. A portion of the site is R6.
Right.
R6 really doesn't have a height limit to it. The portion of our site that's not R6 is really the commercial zoning, and really that's what's really hindering any residential development here, because the FAR that you can build on the commercial portion really just doesn't give developers any square footage to build. But the other side of the rezoning does give us residential rights. And really, if you built a height factor building, there is no height limit on that. So you could build tall buildings. And elsewhere on Boston Road, if you go further down Boston Road, you do see very tall buildings. There are 18 and 20-story buildings further down on Boston Road. So I just wanted to clarify that really, it's not 100% accurate that says that our action is really generating the just change from the R6 to the R7 too. Really, R6.
Where do you get the information that the R6 zoning doesn't? I'm an architect, right? And you're telling me the R6
You can build a height factor.
doesn't have a 45 foot building height maximum, and then you set back
You can build a height
exposure plane.
You have to. What I'm saying is, you have a sky exposure plane. You don't have, as in a contextual district where it's
But the sky exposure
85 foot hard limit. Yeah, no, I say that's why I said if you built a height factor building, you could build a taller building and not have a hard, 85 foot base with the setback. That's what I meant to clarify. Not that you could build infinite, but you would be subject to a sky exposure plane where you could build taller buildings on
but you
site.
have to set back because of, sun exposure. You have to step back.
Absolutely.
Right. So, when it's a kind of, what I guess for people on the line that are novices, you can't just say it doesn't have a height limit. All buildings have a height limit based on the sky exposure plane. It kind of gives you how far you can go depending on the size of your lot. Right.
Correct. I'm sorry. I should have said a hard height limit as opposed to a sky exposure plane. I didn't mean to misrepresent.
No, it's okay. That's all right. Also, are you some of the services that's going to be impacted on this services area would be sanitation. Are you going to have a private? Because this amount of apartments, you're going to have a lot of need for sanitation and street cleaning and things like that. What are some of the impacts that you're going to? What are some of the things you're going to use to like remedy some of that impact on the building, or you haven't gotten to that kind of looking into that yet?
We haven't gotten that far into design yet,
Okay.
but new DOB standards have a lot more focus on how we maintain and keep our trash on site. So when we advance further in design, that will be something that we have to address.
Right.
In terms of pickup, all residential buildings qualify for Department of Sanitation normal pickup.
Right.
But what we can do and what we have to do is come up with a plan for how we're going to maintain our trash until Department of Sanitation picks it up, and that will be something that we will address in time. We're really not that far along in design to address that, but it is something very important. We've seen the mayor, come out about this as an issue. DOB has become more active at asking developers when they submit their plans to include plans on where you're storing your waste before pickup. So it definitely will be something we have to address and will address, and we think it's very important.
Right. And some of I know you probably don't need to look into, but some of the social issues you're going to have involved here is you're going to have a higher population, right? And you have the schools are already overcrowded. So I know this is something maybe you can address, you can or cannot address right now, but those are some of the considerations. I think once you start building something of this magnitude, you have a higher impact on the schools in that area, and also just other basic services in that area.
Completely. We agree with you 100%. Obviously, we don't control
Right.
the number of school board seats, the school seats, and how DOE operates. But that is analyzed as part of the environmental impact study. So the EAS does cover things ranging from school seats. So it looks at the number of school seats. They'll make some assumptions on how many school seats a building of this size will generate. And that's factored into the environmental assessment statement, whether we're generating more impact than our share or what would happen if we wouldn't develop. And that's how they kind of measure. I'm a New Yorker. My kids go to public schools. I'm
You know how
100% supporter of
how it does.
more public school resources. We simply don't control that. We're here, proposing to develop affordable housing, and that's what we can do here.
Okay, and also, this is going to have a greater impact on traffic, just traffic patterns, more traffic, more people, because I'm going to assume that everyone in the building is going to own a car, so the amount of traffic is going to come in and out of this area right now is going to increase, like tenfold. And then I think you said you're supplying enough parking in the building for the residents. Is it included in their rent? Is it included in, do they have to pay monthly, or is it free? And also to accommodate the parking that's going to be needed for the supermarket that's going to go there. Because right now I shop at that place right now. I go into the parking lot and I park. Sometimes it's difficult to find parking when I do go there. But now that you're going to make the store bigger and probably a lot nicer, you may have more traffic coming in there. How have you addressed those issues with parking and
Sure.
traffic with people and store?
So traffic is something that also gets analyzed as part of the EAS. When it comes to parking, parking's always a sensitive topic,
Right.
especially in the outer boroughs.
Yeah.
We're proposing 117 parking spaces here, which is 50 more than what would be required under zoning.
How many
here.
apartments? 117 parking spaces. How many apartments are you gonna
There are
have?
333 apartments.
Oh, wow. So you don't have
Other
enough
people
for it.
ask questions, or can others speak?
Okay, first we're gonna have, first the committee members will ask, then we will get to the general public. Mr. Suckledge, please continue.
Thank you.
So 333 apartments on site.
Okay. All right. So I have a lot of other questions but it's very interesting. But if anyone else has some questions, go ahead and ask.
Actually, I have one. Mr. Valderas, this might be a question for the supermarket operator. I understand my understanding is that it is the site of it, what's currently the, it's the it's the Walgreens or the Walgreens drugstore there. Is that correct?
No,
So-
no.
so-
Go
So let
ahead.
me, before Rudy goes, I just want to say, I had originally stated it, Rudy was planning on moving to the Walgreens site. That at that point in time was an option. I'll let Rudy speak for himself, but I just wanted to clarify why that's coming up, that it was the Walgreens site. Rudy owns the Walgreens site just down the road on Boston Road. But since since that time, Rudy's plans for relocation have changed. And I'll let
Okay.
Rudy speak for himself, but I wanted to clarify, why there might be misunderstanding why it was the Walgreens site. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Rudy.
Okay. Now I see the presentation. Is that what is supposed to be in there? Because I don't see myself. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So yes, he's right. I do own the Walgreens, and my first option, and I told them because Walgreens was gonna willing to work out a deal to vacate for a pay some loan to terminate the lease earlier, but the amount that they was asking me, it was too much. So I bought the property right in front of it, which is 2803 Boston Road. And I'm in contract, two parking garage that is right next to the property. I'm in contract to buy as well. And what I'm doing is I'm enlarging the building there to have about the same size, maybe 10,000 square feet store with parkings. We have some rendering, preliminary rendering done that we can share in the next meeting with you guys. But the address that is right across the street from the Walgreens. If you see where the car wash is right in front of that, the other side of the road, 2803 Boston Road, which is right now is like garage type of thing. They're using for garage and car sales, and their lease is expiring now in April. So while we're doing all the filing, doing all the drawing with the architect, mechanical drawing, architectural drawings, to enlarge the building to accommodate the supermarket.
And those are also going to have parking spots there?
Yes, because the property 2803 is 19,000 square feet, and then the two parking space is around 2,800 square feet. So total is going to be like 22,000 square feet. So if we miss a parking based upon the size, the store is going to be under the fresh programs, which you can, we would try to comply with the amount of parking, but the fresh program overrides the building department's mandate, and but we try to comply with the DOB in regard to the amount of parking required, but we have like around 10,000 square feet of parking space.
Okay. For this question, would you be able, would any of it, are you willing to also make some of these parking spaces available to residents at, let's say, at night, like just for nighttime parking? And after everything is back.
Yeah, So we've discussed that with Rudy, and he has no objection to allowing overnight parking on the commercial spaces at Boston Road.
Okay.
So we don't think it'll be an
Okay.
issue.
Okay, thank you. Oral, do you have any more questions?
No, I think I have most of it. I don't
Okay.
want to keep you guys go because there's some very other interesting topics about this building that I wanted to address. But you can open it up to everything
All right.
else. I
Well-
can get into this further later on.
Next, I'd like to open it up to any of the community board members. Any of the community board members that would like to speak. Let's see, who do we have?
I think Robert Press was first. He wanted to
Well,
talk.
no, I just want, I said that, no, the community, I want the
Oh,
community board
community board,
members.
I'm sorry. You're right. Go ahead.
I got it. Hey Ken, how you doing? It's Malcolm. So I would love to know. I know that sometimes we say affordable housing, right? And then sometimes affordable housing ends up looking like a studio renting at $3,000. So I would love to know, like, from the conception of this property, what is the breakdown of the different units, and how much would they be rented for? And and what does it look like going forward in regards to rent increases over time for this property?
Sure. So can you everyone see my screen still? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can.
Okay. So I'll start off with just what area median income is for New York. So this slide shows what the AMI levels are for a family ranging from 1 to 4, from 30 to 120, which is what the HPD program kind of falls under. So in rough numbers, because the ranges are from 40 to 60% of the units, so I'm just going to say roughly half the building will be for incomes ranging from 80% and lower, and half the building, 40 to 60%, will range with units at above 80 up to 120. So, again, half the units will range for families, and I'll use family of 4 just to clarify. So a family of 4 ranging from 40,000. Well, I'll start at the lowest and go up. Family of 1 ranging at 28,000, up to a family of 4 ranging up to 106, and then a portion of the building, half, will be for families earning above that up to 120% of area median income. So in terms of what that means for rents, the way the rents are set so that the tenants or the families don't pay more than 30% of their income towards rent. So for those units, rents would look something like this. A studio, which is a household of 1 or less, is $700 for someone making 30% of area median income. Up to the 80% would be approximately $1,900 for a studio apartment at the 80%. So I won't run through all of these, but that's how the AMIs and the rents lay out under these guidelines. And then I think your next question was about rent increases. So rent increases are driven by the lesser of what AMI growth is, or rent stabilization. So every year, you probably see it on the news, the Rent Guideline Board votes on RGB, rent guideline board increases. That would be, so it would grow by the lesser of that, or whatever the AMI growth in New York City is.
And my next question is,
And-
I'm sorry, you go ahead. You can finish.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to-
Sorry. Yeah. So my next question is, like, how many of each unit size will be available? Like, would it be 50% is going to be 3 bedrooms and 20% is going to be 1 bedroom? Like, what is the breakdown?
Sure. I don't have a detailed, like, written in stone breakdown yet, but HPD guidelines have requirements for what we can or what we have to do. So roughly no more than 25% of the units can be studios, and no less than 30% of the units have to be can be 2s and 3s. So I can't do less than 30% 2s and 3s. And then there's flexibility among within
Yeah.
those guidelines, but there isn't a hard like X number studios, X1s, X2s. There's really kind of guide rails at the bottom studios and at the top 2s and 3s. So I don't have a
In
particular
meeting
exact
one,
number, but I can give you kind of that range of no more than 25 will be percent of the studios.
Phil, we can hear you.
and-
We can't hear John talk. Okay, go ahead, John.
Sorry. And then a minimum of 30% will be 2s and 3 bedrooms. And, we could strive to do better than that, but that's the minimums and the maxes for those unit types.
All right. And is there any projected price points for the parking that's going to be associated with the building?
We really haven't gotten there at all. I mean, it'll be in line with market parking rates. We really haven't explored that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, but I guess you still haven't gotten to it yet. You mentioned that you haven't explored whether or not you'll have on-site parking or valet parking. Remember, those were some of the issues that were brought up the last time. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah. Also, what are some security features that you guys are going to have associated with the property? I mean, that is a big property. So, I mean, like, what type of security features will you have to ensure that things are planned orderly there?
We will have on-site 24-hour security, and we do have install security cameras, CCTV at all of our buildings.
Yeah. Malcolm, is that what are you done? Okay. Next.
That's okay.
Hi, it's
Well-
Ken, it's Christine Culpepper. I have a couple of questions.
Well,
hold on, wait a second.
Let Kenny run the thing.
We'd like to can we go on for all? First, I would like to get any members of the board. I have Sandra Unger is here. Anybody? Do you have any questions for them? Miguel Dwyer, April Francis. I didn't see Melanie Lahoz or any of the other members. Did any other community board members have a question yet? If not, we'll then go to the speakers that were in the order. At least we're starting in the order that they signed in on.
Hi,
Sandy, I had a question.
Who is this?
Sandy. It's Sandy Unger.
Sandy, hi. Okay.
Hi.
Go on.
I know that there are a lot of buildings and the parking is owned by a private parking lot. So will Slate own the parking lot, or will be a private company who will supervise the lot and collect the rents and the security, etc.? And that's something that should be thought about also.
We haven't made a decision on that at this point.
That's really not an answer, but
it's the truth. I don't know what else you want me to tell you but the truth. Sorry.
Okay.
Any other community board members that have I know that.
Yes, that would be me,
You know-
Christine Culpepper, Ken. I am a
Okay.
community board member.
You want to, you know what it is? You're not on the list of those that were required to attend. That's why I didn't say, that's why I didn't see you. Okay. Okay. Christine, please go ahead, Christine.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank our speaker, our guest, for being here tonight. And so I have a couple of questions to you about the development, about the jobs that are going to be created by this type of development. John, if you do you have any idea how many construction jobs are going to be created by this type of development?
I don't have an estimate for a number of construction jobs. I'm sorry.
Okay, do you have any ideas about permanent jobs that this development will create?
Yes, I do have. If you bear with me, I'm just trying to look while you ask. In terms of building service personnel, there is approximately 5 to 6 building service personnel, so super, porters, handyman. in
Mhm.
addition to the on-site security. So the building have 24-hour security, so that's probably at least 3 shifts, 7 days a week on top of the building service personnel.
Gotcha. And do you
And
have
then, sorry, just on the supermarket too, maintaining
Oh,
the
sorry, yes.
the
Plus the
60.
supermarket, obviously. There's 60 existing employees at the supermarket,
gotcha?
plus whatever employees are in the other additional retail, plus the employees in the community facility space.
Right. Okay. And one last question is: do you guys have any MOUs with any unions, construction union trades?
Yes, we have an agreement with Local 79 to do construction, and we have an agreement with 32 BJ building service workers.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, this is Jeanette Wilson. I just have one question, a clarification. Will Fine Fair have parking, and is that separate or included with the 117 spaces that was mentioned previously?
The 117 includes 50 parking spaces earmarked for the Fine Fair. That the Fine Fair is okay with us utilizing those spaces as surplus or overfill overnight parking, since it doesn't impact their overnight. They don't obviously operate overnight. So, but the 50 is within the 117.
Thank you.
Any other community board members that have questions? Okay, if not, we'll open it up. We have thought it was Stephanie, I think, Jeremy, I think the people who had raised that thing first was Stephanie Sue, if I recall.
Kenny, for 1 second, you want me to
Yeah.
time this so no one takes a long time making
Yeah,
a.
please. These are 2 minutes. Thank you, Earl.
So
Thank you
I'm going
very
to-
much for
I'm going
reminding
to-
me.
I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes. So keep your questions to 2 minutes, and then so give the guests an opportunity to answer. Okay.
First is going to be, I think Stephanie Sue is the person who, from there that I had from Jeremy that registered to speak.
Yeah. Before I start,
Oh.
I'm here. I just want to make sure I'm the first person.
Okay, Stephanie,
Yes.
are you the first person, Kenny? Is she the first
Yeah,
person?
she's
Okay.
the first person as far as I know.
Okay, Stephanie, you have 2 minutes. I'm gonna give you a 3-minute warning. 30-second warning.
All right, thank you. So again, I represent several of the community members. I was speaking last time. Their concerns are mainly on the supermarket. We were definitely advised that there would be no blackout period, and that regardless of when the supermarket was able to move, the construction would be delayed. I just want to confirm that construction will be delayed if there is a time period between, from what I'm hearing, is they're moving their store. I don't know if the store is built or not, but there is no blackout period. And I was also wondering, I'm not sure if I can keep in touch with, there's a Rudy, I don't know his last name, but he owns a restaurant. And there was a John Valadares. I don't know if there's a way for me to maybe just keep in communication just to make sure my clients, who are the community members, continue to have access to that supermarket without it being closed due to construction.
Yeah, yes, this is John. I don't know if you want to send me a message. I can give you my email address.
Oh
where
yeah,
you could
definitely.
reach out to me. I don't know. I'm sure maybe in the chat I could, if you send me a message, I'll reply back with my
John, if you see her name, you could send it to her
email address.
directly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't catch her name.
John,
It was Sue.
John, maybe you could post your email address in the chat, and that way you won't have to give it to everybody individually. Okay?
Sure, will do. Sure.
Thank you.
And Rudy, I'm not sure if I'm able to keep in contact with you. So if there is any issues, I can address that. Again, I'm representing the community members, elderly, sickly. They need that access to the supermarket.
We working very close to the developer, and that would not be an issue. I will be the first one who will be concerned, and I'm not concerned. They're giving me, we have plenty of time, and will not guarantee no blackout.
Okay, so then I'll just keep in touch with Mr. Valadares. Sorry.
Okay. Next is Brian Hunt. I have Brian Hunt.
Yes, hello, Ken. Hello, everybody.
Okay, Brian Hunt, you have,
I
I'll
saw,
give you a 30-second, okay?
Okay, no problem. My name is Brian Hunt. I'm with Local 638 Steam Fitters Union. Thank you guys for the presentation today. It was very informative. We're just concerned. We have members, a lot of members that live in the area and have just been concerned about, working safely on the job sites, the living wage, and other things that some of the labor unions that I know you're already aware of and kind of help to rectify and resolve in the neighborhood. So it's just a community concern from our end. And, I'd love to talk to you guys more about it moving forward. We're, big fans of the project. So if there's any way we can reach in contact with each other, moving forward, then I would definitely be open for that. I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys.
We appreciate the comment, Brian. I'm gonna, again, I'll leave my email address. Please shoot me an email and I could, would love to discuss.
Okay. Thank you, John.
next is Renato Ralph, I believe, or I'm not sure of the name said
Hi, yes, hi, it's Renata Raffi. Thank you.
Renato Raffi. I apologize.
It's okay. How are you?
30-second warning. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I understand about this need for like affordable housing and everything, but let me ask you, are we going to try to invest into the school system or are we just going to build these housing and not invest into our school systems here? Because where are these kids going to go to school with our schools already being overcrowded and as well as like our emergency rooms and stuff? Like, is our infrastructure going to be expanded? Is there money set aside for this? Or is it just going to be to build a building and then like worry about like where these kids go to school, parking, and all these issues later on?
That's a very good question. So as part of any city action related to a rezoning, the environmental impacts are part of the city's analysis on and decision-making process to go forward on a project. It's called environmental assessment statement that the city city requires as part of the ULURP process that analyzes the impact on schools, traffic, daycares, as part of that analysis. I am an affordable housing developer. I don't build schools. I don't, build hospitals. As a New Yorker, I'm, strongly in favor of those. We should all work together to lobby our elected officials to provide more school conditions and better seats. I am, doing my best to address one issue in particular that the city is facing, and that's the affordable housing crisis. And we're doing our best work on that. But I'm happy to be a vocal proponent alongside with you to, say that we need more school seats and more hospital beds.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely email you off the record then, and we could talk about it a little bit more because I'm very concerned about these buildings that are going up. But what about our infrastructure? Because already the Bronx is literally the poorest place in the whole 5 boroughs and the least educated. And I understand that affordable housing is good, and I do see some change in it. But what about like our education? Like, what are we going to do to like support the people who come into this neighborhood? Is there any, and like, what about our police officers too? Crime is already on the rise in this area too. So, all right, I'll email you and then maybe we could work on this offline. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to work with you guys. The part we're taking up on it is we're taking up the mantle of trying to provide housing for those teachers, firefighters, police officers who, right now there's a lot of those individuals who can't afford to live in New York City, who leave New York City to go find housing elsewhere and unfortunately leave the teaching system, leave the FDNY and leave the NYPD. So we're hoping that this is one thing that we can do on our part to help maintain those blue collar workers and those blue collar jobs that really help keep the city running.
I thank you for your time, but I mean, I'm not all too sure about that because if you want to support, then you build up the infrastructure along with the housing as opposed to just trying to dump people.
Next.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Next speaker is Grace Lavaggio. Grace.
Yes,
Are you
I'm
still
here.
Okay.
Hey, Jenny, how you doing? Yeah, I'm totally against this project. There's no such thing. That's not an affordable housing, first of all. I live down the block from Fine Fair. That's the only place I shop. There is going to be a problem shopping I'm not going all the way to Boston Road to shop. I'm a senior and I'm disabled and I am not, it's a hardship for me. It's a hardship for me. Plus, we do not have the infrastructure in this area for the 333 unit. What this building is going to do is going to bring in people that have higher incomes. It's going to increase the supermarket prices are going to go up when they come back. They're already outrageous, the prices. We can hardly afford to buy meat. There's no parking. There's not enough room in the schools. We don't have the infrastructure as far as pipes. The police department can't handle it. The fire department and the hospitals can't handle this influx of 333. That's one person. So you have to figure it's going to be at least a family of 2 or 3 people. They're going to have one child at least, but we all know that there's going to be probably 5 kids, 3 kids, 2 kids, whatever. That's school. That we can't hold these people. This is a way to get people to, we're getting pushed out into Westchester County because you guys keep
30 seconds.
gentrifying everything. What?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Thanks. So you guys keep pushing people out. You're worried about other people, teachers and whoever, moving out. Well, if they can afford to move, let them, because we can't afford to move. We have fixed income people here. We can't afford to move. This is outrageous and it needs to be stopped. And the community board needs to do something and do not agree to have this plan go forward.
Okay,
This
thank
is
you,
a slap
Grace.
in the
That's
face.
it.
Grace, thank you.
Okay.
Next one, next, we're going to go to other speakers. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand in the meeting, and we'll eventually get to you. We hope to get to you. Next is Mariano. I don't know who Mariano. I don't have a last name. Are you here?
Mariano?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm 30 seconds. You can start.
Yeah, so I'm a resident here for the last 30 years. And my major concern is the public resources. I'm happy for the building. I think it's great. But we need to also fund our schools, the police. It's not getting any better. And plus we got 3 other buildings that are rising along with this one. So that's a major influx of people coming into the neighborhood. And that's something we need to see before we start building stuff and just become victims of whatever you guys made. I think that's just it. Who do we get on board? Who from the city could come sit down and talk with us? You know, because you have to think about the effects that's going to have with all these families. This is a working family community. Like the previous person said, we have children. I have 3 kids, and I grew up in this neighborhood. I sent my kids to the same schools that I grew up in, and it's good schools. They were decent schools, but now it's gonna go worse. We don't have the teachers. We don't have the aid. What's going on? Because Morris Park is getting a new school. You see that happening, but it's not happening here. So what's going on? And we're all part of the same community. So that's really what I'm frustrated about. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Mar.
Thank you. Next, Diana Finch.
Yes,
Diana,
hi. I'm with the Bronx Park
30
East
seconds.
Community Association. And from Allerton, between Bronx Park East and Boston Road, there are at least 10 6 to 7 story buildings newly constructed or under construction just in the last couple of years. So there's already a huge influx coming into the area. I am very concerned about the parking too. I'm all in favor of more housing, more affordable housing. In terms of the parking, is it 1 or 2 levels underground? Because we know that some of the developers in the area have not added parking that they said they would, below ground level parking, because they found that there was too much bedrock. And one developer spent almost $1 million, $850,000 just drilling to excavate for their 1 level parking. The schools are losing teachers because the teachers can't find parking when they come in for the day to work. People with young families have cars, often 2 cars, 1 for each parent, because they drive to shop at the big box stores, or they commute by car to work in Westchester or further out in the Bronx. They don't use the subway to get to work. So I think we really need to think about the impact on the area for the parking. And I wanted to know much more about the environmental assessment statement. Has it been done? Can we see it? There was toxic remediation done about 10 years ago at the gas station that's across the street, leakage from the gas tanks. And I don't know if that affects the site and if that's been investigated. So when do we see the environmental assessment statement? Who does it? Can we ask questions about that too?
John, my understanding that the environmental impact statement and the have not are done after they get approval, but after our approval, but before the final city council approval. John, is that correct?
No,
let me-
so the environmental assessment statement is complete when the project is certified into ULURP. So that is up on the Department of City Planning's website. And we can send you a link to that.
So the environmental assessment statement has already been done?
Yes.
Correct.
It's
And does it
complete.
include? Okay, so why didn't we see it before? I mean, it seems very critical.
Diana, I understand. We got the answer to your question. Well, I understand there are other people that are waiting to speak. It is now, and we want to be able to get everybody in tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And you'll be able to, Ms. Garincha, could you possibly put a link into the chat as to where the environmental impact statement can be found? Not tonight or, okay?
Yeah, she said yes.
Next is Michael Case, I believe I don't know if you're not pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes.
Good, Michael.
Michael.
30-second warning.
All right. Hi,
Michael?
my name is Michael Cass. I'm a resident in Community Board 11, and I wanted to express my support for this proposal. These are the kinds of proposals we need in our district, so this is welcome. The density is quite nice, and this project is going to enhance the character of Boston Road. However, I'm concerned by the number of parking spaces being proposed. My understanding is because this proposal is located within the transit zone, it cuts parking requirements for new affordable housing units. So it appears that far more parking is being proposed than legally required. I think that's a mistake, especially since sustainability is so important. Given the proximity to transit, we should be looking to reduce the number of parking spaces. We could repurpose that space perhaps for an even larger supermarket or community space. If I'm not mistaken, a similar idea was expressed at the City Planning Commission when this ULURP was certified. Alternatively, since parking is expensive to build and adds to the cost of construction, by building fewer spaces, perhaps we could pursue deeper affordability for these homes. I think given the choice, most folks would prefer more affordability since a majority of Bronxites do not drive. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing this ULURP pass.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cass. Next is Robert. The next person I have a hand up is Robert Press. Mr. Press, you have your turn.
Thank you. I'm going to try and be quick here. Slide 6 shows a 6,750 square foot of community facility. Slide 9, a 15,000 square foot supermarket, which is small by today's standards, which range from 25,000 to 70,000 square feet. Slide 9 also shows the loading dock, commercial space, and a community facility of only 1,523 square feet. What happened to the rest of the 6,750 square feet? Where is it? And, oh, it got bigger all of a sudden. Okay. Now, with
clarify, so the community facility is in a mezzanine level, so it comes in at the ground floor with the 1,500 square feet, and then the
I
balance
hope
of
this
the
doesn't take my
space
time away.
is I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I apologize. I was trying to
All
help.
right, can I continue?
Yes, Mr. Press, continue.
With 333 units. Intro 1211, sponsored by Councilman Salamanca in December of 2019, taking effect on July 1st, 2020, requires developers who receive city financial assistance for new construction of housing development projects to set aside at least 15% of the dwelling units offered for rent in each housing development project for homelessness individuals and families. A minimum of 49 then of the 333 dwelling units here must be set aside for homeless individuals or families. Do we have an estimate of the total of which apartments will be set aside for the homeless people, for homeless population, and how many of those people will be occupying those units? If we're having 49 units and it says families, we can then probably estimate up to about 70 or 75 homeless people will now be housed in those units. Also, you now have 300, at least 300 more units going in the old Delesio / Superfood unit, Superfood site on Allerton Avenue, 2 blocks away. They will also have to have that 15% set aside. So we're now going to have about almost 150 now new homeless people in a 2-block radius over there in Community Board 11, which the city has said CB 11's homeless responsibility is 540.
Robert,
Now there are also
Robert,
200.
You're done. You're finished.
Done?
Okay.
Yes.
The board
Yeah.
needs to look at the homeless population.
Okay.
That come.
Okay. We'll look at that.
Okay.
Answer some of those questions.
Just a quick thing. So this is affordable housing. In order to eliminate homelessness, we must build affordable
Wait,
housing. So
That's
who's
John
speaking
Johnson.
now?
It's okay. It's okay, Ken.
John.
It's John Johnson.
This
Okay.
is John.
It's okay.
Oh,
This is
John, okay.
So when you offer an avenue outside of homelessness and people move to an apartment, affordable housing, they are no longer homeless. So a little bit just a clarification, these are not homeless people once they move into this building. And they're regular people like everybody else. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean there's a negative connotation attached to it. It's a financial situation. It's a whole other things that anybody can be homeless at any time. So when someone moves into this building, formerly homeless means they're not homeless anymore. So I just want to clarify that they are not homeless when they get into this building.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Okay,
Next
thank you,
question.
thank you, John. All right, I do not see any other hands raised from anybody.
I would like to speak, please.
Who is that?
Roxanne Delgado.
Mr. Delgado, from now on, please raise your hand. I asked everybody to raise their hands. You can please comply with everybody else to the.
My hand is raised.
It's not on the chat.
Well, I don't know why you don't see my hand is raised. I have a green hand raised. It's green for some reason.
It's green now, Ken. It's green now, Ken. It's okay.
Now it's, that's fine.
Ken, it's okay. Go ahead, Roxanne. You have to
Go ahead, Roxanne.
warning.
Can you please give me a 30-second warning, please?
I will.
I'd just like to state that I'm very disappointed at how Community Board 11 did no outreach, because I did knock a few doors this evening and no one knew about this meeting. And not to mention that you were not in compliance, not just once, but twice you were not in compliance with ULUP, where it was published just for 3 days at the city record. The first meeting that had to be rescheduled, it was not even publicized in the city record, much less was there any email sent out. There's two board members who have conflict of interest, including Mr. Johnson, so I'm not sure why he's speaking. A lot of people are talking about parking space, but the previous speaker did make a good point. There's actually more parking space than required. But the real issue is that it's not affordable. It's being pushed under the guise of affordability, but understand that half of the units, over 115 units, will have rents that could be actually charged over $3,000 with required income of $121,000. This is not, and not to mention 10 stories high, which is overbears the landscape of the existing community. But the thing is, it's not affordable. It's under the disguise affordable because it's going to be publicly financed. Our money is going to build a project that's not going to be affordable to the local community. 50% of the units, which is actually 166 units, will be a required income of over $100,000. Rent 1 bedroom for over $3,000. How is this affordable? So we can all spend time talking about schools and EIS reports and parking space, but the real issue is that it's too much, too high, over 10 stories high. There's conflict of interest with the board.
30 seconds.
It's not providing information to the community, and it's not affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I do not see any other hands raised. If there are anybody else that wishes to speak, if not, I will declare the public hearing part of this meeting now closed. Thank you. What?
It's Grace.
I'm sorry.
It's Grace. Can I speak again?
No,
Also, there's
No,
people
not,
on the phone.
no,
you cannot.
no,
You
not,
cannot, Grace.
no, Grace, no.
Nobody
Call
else is
out to
gonna.
the
Grace,
Roxanne,
no, Grace,
Roxanne and Grace,
no,
please.
no.
Can you please respect the whole process, please? You cannot
Well,
talk
I'm
again.
asking, that's
Yeah,
what
Okay.
okay. The answer is no. We're now gonna close this meeting. We're now gonna have the meeting of the Land Use Committee, which we are going to have now. The public hearing portion of the meeting was closed at 8:39.
Ken, are there people on the phone waiting to speak?
Not that I know of. I don't see any other hands raised. And
Raise your hand on the
I don't see any other hands, and I just asked if anybody else wanted to speak.
If they called in, they wouldn't be able to.
If they called in, it's hard for them to talk. But yeah,
Who?
I don't know
Did
how
ask for any-
I don't know how else to process this, but it's okay, Ken. It's okay.
No, I asked if anybody else wanted to speak, and I did not see, and I did not see anybody who has not spoken
No one
already.
spoke up. No one spoke up. Okay, fine, Ken. You're good.
We're
This
going
is
to the,
Christine.
we now,
I don't have anything to add. Thanks.
okay, we're now going to go to the Land Use Committee meeting. We're starting the Land Use Committee meeting at approximately, of course, I lost my pen, which I knew what I was using. We're now, the Land Use Committee meeting is going to start at 8:40. Good evening, this is the start of the Land Use Committee. I know the item 1 on the agenda is the review of the January and October 22 meeting minutes. We do not have them. I apologize. We will try to get them as soon as possible. Number 2, next thing, we're going to have a discussion on the land use. You now have members of the Land Use Committee, anybody who wishes to speak on the project that we just had the public hearing on. At this point, I would like to speak a little bit. Some of the things that I'm concerned about are the issues of the current infrastructure that apparently they are not asking anything additional. I think any approval that we have or that the community board should approve would be conditional upon there being improvements to the current infrastructure, particularly the public schools and additional police, because I know the 49th precinct is overworked as it is. Number 2, I think that we could also have any people who move into this building and were formerly homeless and are now not homeless should now be should be counted against any borough obligation to have homeless residents. Any of our mayoral obligations on that, oral or John, do you have any thoughts about this?
Sorry, so Ken, is the question, I'm not clear about the question. The question is, are we meeting our homeless fair share obligation with the existence of this building?
No. It's about any of people who were homeless now move into this building and are not homeless anymore. Those should be counted against our fair share obligation. Because otherwise, in essence, they're homeless, they're in a shelter, and voila, you now start the cycle all over again.
So I will tell you, people who go into this building will be paying rent. You will not be able to discern a homeless family there or an individual who is not formerly homeless. You cannot tell them apart. They both be paying the same amount of money. So there are people that are in the shelter that are working and fell on bad times. They've been working for a long time, saving up money, and they will qualify for the affordable component of this housing.
That's not that.
You
You misunderstand, Mike. Then you misunderstand. I wasn't clear. Those people who were in the shelters then are now fulfilling our fair share obligation. When they move out of the shelters, all of a sudden you now move somebody else in, and in essence, you're saying, well, you still have your fair share obligation has now gone up again because of that.
Well, not particularly because the same if you have a 100-bed shelter in your
Right.
district and one person moves out into permanent housing, you still only have a 100-bed shelter in your district. So you don't have
Is it-
101 anymore. So once that person moves out. So when a person is in a shelter, it's called a homeless shelter. So they are technically still homeless because they're in a transitional housing period situation where it's not permanent housing. What being built here is permanent housing. So there's transitional housing and there's permanent housing. When you're in transitional housing, you do not have permanent housing. So even though you're under a roof, you're technically considered homeless or without domicile, right? Because it's
In oth-
temporary. So
in
when
other words, the fair,
I'm sorry,
in other words, the fair share obligation is the number of homeless shelter beds, not number of homeless shelter people.
they're no longer see that's the thing. They're
Not homeless people, homeless shelter beds.
it's the bed. So when somebody moves out of
That's it.
homeless shelter,
Okay.
they're no longer homeless. They are in permanent housing.
Okay. Thank you. No, I understand that now. Okay. Oral, do you have any questions? More?
No, I think John did a great job explaining this
Okay.
between
Okay.
traditional.
All of a sudden, my thing just missed. Okay, I got my meeting back. Any of the community board members that would have anything to say before we make any motions or anything else? Any community board members have any more to ask or any more community board?
I really don't have anything else to ask because all the important questions was asked and.
Oh wait, who is this?
Avril Francis.
Okay.
I just thinking this building seems to be giving me a headache just thinking about it right now. And everybody discussed the schools, the parking, that we are putting up buildings, but we are not putting parking places. That's what we need in the community. Not more buildings. We have fine fare. We have so many supermarkets all over the place already, but I am so concerned about parking. And if we're bringing 300 apartment, as I think Oral or someone say, then how many people in one apartment with how many cars? So all that is something to think about. So I'm very concerned about this.
Okay. Any other community board members?
No, I'm good.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned that the affordable rents. I mean, the affordable rents that was posted is much higher than the median rents within the community itself. So that's honestly, like, for me, the biggest thing at this point.
Okay. All right.
Well, you have to, well, Malcolm, you have to really look at how that AMI is divided. You can I don't know if you can get I don't have the
No, I mean, I understand the AMI, right? But the AMI is still a little bit jaded against the community, in the sense that we're also including the incomes of people who are in Yonkers and Westchester in our AMI, and and those are usually higher income people, which doesn't represent our people that live here.
Well, that's debatable, but you have to really look at it and see if it's reasonable for 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartment and the rent that they're offering.
Thank you. You're right. You're right. You're right, Oral. Any other community board members have any questions?
This is Miguel Dyer. I'd just like to say that I absolutely agree with Malcolm. I don't think anybody thinks $2,800 for a studio is affordable. Thank you.
All right. Okay, now I'd like to know, I realize that the agenda has the gallery session later, but I think we're going to have the gallery session before we make a motion and vote on it. Is there anybody member of the public that wishes to speak again? Please raise your hands. I would give preference to those people who did not speak at the public hearing. If you had your hand up originally, please take it down so that we can know who now wants to speak again, who now wishes to speak. Okay, is it Mariano? Do you wish to speak it with oral? We're gonna limit it to 2 minutes. It's a hard limit on this.
Okay.
Mariano, Diana Finch.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, so I've looked at the EAS, environmental assessment statement, and I don't think that the board should vote on this until you've been able to scrutinize this environmental statement, because, for instance, it says on page 6, indirect residential displacement, would expected average incomes of the new population moving into this new building exceed the average incomes of study area populations? And the answer they put is no. But then it asks, if the answer was yes, would the population of the primary study area increase by more than 10%? Would the population of the primary study area increase by more than 5% in an area where there's potential to accelerate trends toward increasing rents? And both of those questions aren't answered.
That's because the answer is no.
Yeah, but that's not, how do you know that's the right answer? Because
They did the study.
don't take away my time, please. There's more. You have to look at this environmental statement and decide if you think it's been done correctly, because they do talk about the schools and the early childhood programs. And I don't think that the answers they gave are correct. Would the project result in 50 or more elementary or middle school students, or 150 or more high school students based on the number of residential units? They said yes. If yes, would the project result in a utilization rate of the
30
elementary and middle
seconds.
schools that's equal or to or greater than 100%? And they said no. How do they know it's no? Would the project generate 100 or more elementary or middle school students past the 100% utilization rate? They say no, but I think yes, it would. 333
How do you know that? Okay.
333
Right.
units. How many of those
Is
people
it-
have kids?
30
Yeah,
seconds finish.
I just want the community board to review in detail the environmental assessment statement,
I'll look
which
at it.
talks about a lot of the questions that we've all been raising tonight.
Okay, Diane, 30 seconds are up.
Thank-
Okay.
Next is, I have Roxanne Delgado on. I assume your hand is raised again. Roxanne, please go ahead. 2 minutes.
30-second warning, please.
You will,
First-
okay.
First of all, the call-in option does not work. It says that the call number is not permitted for this meeting. So unfortunately, those who tried to call in couldn't. Second, the AMI is not that, the percent, the floor is 60% and the ceiling is 130%. This makes it unaffordable to community. They should make it either 20 to 40% floor and a maximum of 80 for the ceiling. The percentage of AMI is too high. It may be suitable for a different area like Manhattan or Riverdale, but for Allerton, one of the most affordable neighborhoods in the entire Bronx and city, this is unsuitable. We cannot finance a project that is unaffordable. So vote no and let the councilwoman negotiate a better deal for this community. Thank you.
Grace Lavaggio, next, please. You're up again.
Yes, thank
Grace?
you. Thank you, Kenny. Yes, I agree. I just want to reiterate what I said before, and I agree with Diana and Roxanne. This is not affordable. We don't even know what is the square footage per the apartment. These are like Manhattan apartments where you get 400 square feet for an exorbitant amount of money. And again, this is going to push out people that live in the area who can, because now once those rents come in play, the landlords in the area are going to want to increase their rent. This is what happens. It's a domino effect, and we cannot afford new people coming in to this area. I mean, why not go to Morris Park or Pelham Parkway? Go to Pelham Gardens, do something there where they have a little bit more space than we do. But it never gets there because they get more representation than we do here on Allerton. They get the representation. We get the shaft every time. We were never notified about this until the last minute because nobody is representing here. The community board doesn't care about Allerton. They don't. You might have a couple of people that supposedly live here in Allerton, but that doesn't represent the general population here. The general population here is low income, and this is not affordable. And we're already crowded here as it is. We have enough problems. Crime is going up. It's just not a good thing to do. Plus, if they're going to have homeless in there, they're getting city money, taxpayer money to help build it, the taxpayer money to build, and they're going to be. And if they put homeless people in there, who's going to pay for the homeless rent? Taxpayers. So they're double dipping. So they're getting it all the way around. It's not affordable, and the community board needs to vote no on this. Thank you.
Okay.
Robert Press.
Thank you. The board has to vote tonight because the timeline has October 22nd as an anticipated date for the board to vote. It is now December 2022, 2 months later. The borough president has November 2022 as an anticipated vote date. And this should already be at city planning. So you're going to have to vote tonight, whether you like it or not. And I still say that Mr. Johnson is wrong. We have Mr. Weinstein who is here. Why not ask Mr. Weinstein about this project if there are any questions? Mr. Weinstein is from HPD. I agree with some of the people who say there should be sizes of the apartments. Is it going to be a 400 square foot studio? Is it going to be a 500 square foot 1 bedroom, 600? Nobody knows the size of these apartments. And as you saw, they left off the community facility, that whole page with the second part of the community facility. The project is incomplete, but you're going to have to vote on it or the board will be passed over. Am I correct, Mr. Weinstein? Thank you.
Please, Mr. Press, address your questions to us. We will, if necessary, we will go further, but please address your questions to the chair or to the co-chair, not to anybody else. Thank you, sir. In any event, Mr. Press, are you done?
Finished. I heard. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I've Dean DeFrancis also to speak.
Hi, Kenny. I just wanted to clear up a couple of misconceptions and point out a couple of things. As a representative of the Allerton Merchants Association, we had extensive conversations with John throughout the year. We told him what we were comfortable with. We told him what we were not comfortable with. In all, being that NIDC is on board with the project, and Will Foster and I have had several conversations, we do agree with the community. We have concerns about classroom size, police size, infrastructure, but these are not the questions here. This is with the city council member and the mayor's office that we've been going forward with to make sure that any projects going forward are adequate for our community. Now, what this development did that others haven't in the Bronx is they actually did reach out to the community. Anybody interested in coming to our meetings, it's the first Tuesday of the month. It's in our minutes. It's on our Facebook page, Allerton International Merchants, and you could have kept on top of it if you were following the page about 6 or 7 months ago. I am a little disappointed. I didn't know about the Walgreens not being the new location. No one reached out to me about that, but we can move forward with that. We did request more parking, so we're thankful that you guys added the parking. Despite someone in Morris Park commenting on what Allerton is and isn't, we have many homeowners, many drivers, and it's a very eclectic and mixed community.
30 seconds.
Thank you. So anybody that wants to go forward with the conversation, anybody that wants to ask the Allerton Merchants Association any questions about what we do or do not know. And I just want to add as my final point that Roxanne Delgado is right, that a couple of board members have a conflict of interest, and it should be noted in the minutes when they're asking questions, and it should be public. Thank you.
My understanding is that they did note it. John Johnson, for example, did note it before at the beginning of the meeting, and he's not voting on anything.
I'm not talking about John, Kenny, and
okay.
There's others.
Okay, and the Hazel Muir also would not, because she's also with NIDC. Next one is Bobby. I think it's Bobby Mitchell who raised his hand or her hand. I'm not sure if it's a male or female.
Yes, it's me, Bobby Mitchell. I'm still a little hoarse, but I'm going to try to talk as quickly as possible. Regarding this project that's going on, I do have only two concerns. My first concern is parking. There is not enough now. There's never going to be enough. And if you keep putting up all these buildings, we just all might as well just get rid of cars. Because everybody cannot ride the train, everybody cannot ride the bus. Some of us do have to drive a car. I am one of them. I cannot get on a bus and I cannot get on a train. So my car is desperately needed. So I would appreciate it if you would put some more parking. And my second question is, what are they doing about a dog park in the community? Because they're putting up all these buildings, I'm sure somebody's going to have a dog. We have an enormous amount of dogs in the community already. The only other dog park that is close by is the one on Pelham Parkway. I'd have to get on a bus, a train, or drive my car to get to it with my dog, which defeats the whole purpose of a dog park. So if while they're putting up all these buildings, maybe they could stop and think, maybe put a dog park somewhere and maybe put a parking garage somewhere. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. We have Freddie B also. I don't have a last name. I have Freddie B. Freddie B, are you there? No.
Yes.
Hello?
He's there, but Freddie, you're breaking up. We can hardly
You're-
hear you. Kenny, I got this, Kenny.
Okay. You got him?
Kenny, it's okay. Fred, we
Fred.
cannot hear you. You're breaking up. Are you gonna try again?
Well, I have one quiet while you try, Fred. Why don't you try
I can't hear him. I can't hear him if you're talking. Fred, can you?
So, can you hear?
Fred, could you call in again? I have one question for John Valdaderas while you're trying to call in again. John, you still there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. Are there any pet restrictions in the building?
I'm sorry, are there any what? I'm sorry.
Restrictions on pets in the building, dogs, cats, or any other types of restrictions?
I don't know. I don't think we typically have any restrictions, but
okay,
I'll get back to you. I mean,
That's
it's
fine.
just not something I think of on a daily basis. I don't think
Okay,
we
thank you.
normally do, and I don't know if HPD even prohibits us from having any type of
Okay.
restriction, but I don't think we do.
Okay, thank you. Fred, have you managed to come back again? All right. If not, I think everybody else who has raised their hands has spoken. But I'm sorry we weren't able to hear you. You can come to the board meeting tomorrow night and speak there. At this point, I would like to close the gallery session. I would like to propose a motion. Now, actually, there are only two board. I am not sure. I'd like to. Jeremy, are you there still? No. Okay. All
I'll call.
Jeremy?
No, as I said, I'll give him a call.
No, I didn't think that. No, it's fine. Excuse me. I would like to make a motion that the Land Use Committee tentatively recommend approval on condition. The conditions being one, that the city has to have a sufficient infrastructure that includes a commitment to build public schools and increase the police presence increase the police presence in the area. Number two, that the parking, that as Mr. Fuertes has said, they will be able to use whatever that other location is you will open up part of that parking for overnight parking for residents of this building. I'd like to have a vote on that. Oral, I know Oral is there. Any other community board members here? And everybody, I would like to know. I'd like to take a vote on who is in favor and who is not.
Hey, Ken, I just spoke to Jeremy. He said it's just your committee.
Just my committee. Oral, then in that case, it's just you and I. Because John is not voting on this. Or do you agree with that motion? That's our recommendation to the community board? Or
Yes.
you want to amend it?
No, it's fine.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to declare that the motion is passed. The motion is that we recommend approval conditioned upon the infrastructure that the city is conditioned upon the city committing to increase the facilities such as including but not limited to schools and police. And Mr. Fuertes agrees to have those residents be able to use his other facility for overnight parking. On that point, I would thank everybody for coming. I'm going to declare the meeting closed. The meeting is closed at 9:05 p.m. Good night, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. There was a community board meeting, a full board meeting tomorrow night. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Good night,
Where's the
everybody.
meeting? Where's the meeting being held?
What? I understand that it's a
It's
It's
WebEx.
a WebEx meeting. It's a WebEx meeting.
Okay,
You
all
should have
right.
got. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Night.
Have to close the meeting.